Would you believe that you can take one Papertrey Ink Pumpkin die and make three completely different cards? Today I'm hot foiling, shaking, and even stitching pumpkins. And wait till you see the last one, it might just be my favorite. Today we'll be using Papertrey Ink's Pumpkin Slices die, and I'm going to show you how to stretch your results. We're going to start with hot foiling, and if hot foiling is not interesting to you, I put chapters in this video so you can skip ahead to each card. There are 3 different cards, and you definitely don't want to miss that last one. We're going to be using some pink and gold pumpkins, and I'm also going to show you ways that you can use foil if you don't have a hot foiling machine. So just stay tuned for all the details of this card. And of course, all along the way, I'm giving you tips. So cutting foil is always a difficult thing, and I'm using a little, almost like a little razor blade from Spellbinders to cut down a straight line. You can use scissors, but try your different pairs of scissors because some cut this better than others, and you do need to be kind of gentle with it because if you really rub on the foil, you can remove pieces. Then I take my colored cardstock, which this cardstock foil's really nice. It's a cardstock from Papertrey Ink, and the color is Sweet Blush. And I'm going to use a piece of removable tape and barely tape myself a flap right here. Then we're going to get our timer going and we'll start hot foiling. Don't miss out on my exclusive coupon at Papertrey Ink this weekend. It's 10% off and it'll be in the pinned comment. Make sure if you haven't done it yet that you hit the like and subscribe on my channel so that you catch my weekly tutorials. I'm going to take you through 3 different types of cardstock and the paper reveals, but we'll be focusing mainly on our pinks cardstock today. It's just so fun to peel foil back and look at the amazing results. So this one, make sure when you are foiling that you do a little bit of pressing once this is cooled, and then you slowly reveal. Look at how beautiful this pink is. It is so gorgeous. I'll hold it up to the camera for you. Foil is just so beautiful. It does take a little time to get your foil pieces, but I'm going to show you we can really stretch these. And I did do 3 different types of paper to try it out just to show you that it's possible. This last card here is on a textured paper, and I'll show you how beautiful this looks. I did an entire live stream on this, and I'll link it in the description for you so you can find that video if you're interested on how that card turned out. But we're going to start with the Papertrey Pumpkin Slices. These come in 2 different sizes. And what I did was grab them and just check what I thought looked the best. I wanted I wanted my slices to have the gold across them. So I'm just seeing which one looks the best. And I end up settling on the wider, shorter one. I just thought that the foil fit the best on it. So we're going to go and we're going to die cut this. Okay, so I got these die cut pieces and I'm going to save the rest of this because look at just even the outline looks beautiful. And then you've still got some foil pieces down at the bottom that you could use again. This large solid piece is what you glue those slices onto to hold them together. So I'm going to cut this out of pink because there may be some gaps in my other slices and I want to make sure that what shows through is the same cardstock. Now that I have all my pieces cut, you got to figure out where your slices go, and you want to keep them in the right order so that the pattern of the foil looks correct. So I'm holding the die here so that I can lay out my pieces and know where I'm starting. And you can always start in the middle, which is usually what I do. Start in the middle, start gluing these pieces together. I'll speed through this, and then I'm going to show you how I made gold foil accents without any heat or foiling, and a quick little technique on that as well. Okay, so once I got this put together, I did cut out the little stem that comes with it and put that on, and it's just a light brown color. I left that pretty simple, but here's how it looks. Now, let's add some details, and these we're going to use hot foil scraps on, but we're not going to actually use the hot foil machine. What I'm doing is getting some wide strips of double-sided adhesive, and don't worry, I will link this in the description as well. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to cover most of this piece of white plain paper with them. And then we're going to die cut through these pieces so that we've got some double-sided adhesive on our actual die cut. And I'll die cut lots of little pieces that we can use. And I'm just kind of making it messy because I can see where this tape is. It's real easy to make sure that I keep my die cuts completely within the tape area. In this die set, you can use anything you want. You don't even have to add these extra leaves. You could do it with thread. You could do all kinds of things. I just wanted some extra gold, and I also wanted to be able to show you that you can create foil little items with your scraps without actually having to foil them. So I'm going to add lots of little dies. This is from another set from Papertrey Ink. I will link it in the description for you and in the pinned comment. And we're going to die cut these, and then I'll show you how to get the foil on them. Okay, so I'm going to start with a piece of scrap foil, and I have the shiny side down. I am removing the adhesive from my die cut pieces and placing them adhesive to the silver part of this foil. And I know the foil is actually gold on the other side, but trust me here. We want to put our adhesive down on this side, not the other side, okay? So push it down onto the back side of the foil is what I'm going to call it. And then I'm going to add several different pieces here and just fill up my empty space so that I'm using all of that excess foil. It's just a great way not to waste your foil pieces that came off. Then I'm going to grab a bone folder. And a bone folder is basically a piece of plastic that's got a little flat edge on it that helps you kind of press things down. You could do this with your fingers, but I'm going to go along all these edges and I'm really going to press the gold into that adhesive. Then let me show you what this looks like once we remove it. And don't worry, these pieces are so small. Let me do a little freeze frame on it so you can see. But look at that beautiful gold. It looks amazing. And it's so easy and it uses up your scraps. So I'm going to do lots of little foliage pieces like this. I'm going to do have a lot of options so that we can really kind of add to the background of this pumpkin and use up all these little pieces. So I'm going to continue with as many pieces as I want, and I have several extra pieces of foil here that I can use and use up that extra space. Once again, anything flat that helps you apply pressure so that you're pushing that foil into the adhesive really works well. This, like I said, is a what's called a bone folder, which helps you make nice, precise folds in cards, but you could use any tool that's on your desk or your fingers and it would work great. So just apply a lot of pressure and then look at the gorgeous results. Oh my goodness. Now I'm going to arrange this card. I've put it on a background of this really nice green fibery paper that's from your Paper Insider. I'll of course link that in the description for you, but stay tuned. Our next card is going to use the negative space of this die and we're going to create a shaker card. It's a super easy one, looks adorable, and would bring so many smiles to somebody you send it for Halloween. So we'll go on to that card, and then don't forget, if you decide you want to skip along, there are chapters in this video, and the third card will be even more fun. Did use this fun, thankful curved sentiment that's in this, and then I added for your kindness, and then we'll just put this piece together. Let me show you some final results on it, and let's move on to our negative space shaker card. Okay, and here's how that looks. Look at those little scrap foil pieces and how beautiful they look. It's such a nice addition and keeps you from wasting too much. Our next card, we're going to be using a purple cardstock from Papertrey. I'm going to use the taller pumpkin because I want the shaker piece to be so big on this card, and so I decided that I'd use this larger pumpkin. Now, when you're deciding where to die cut, because we're using the negative space, we need to make sure the rest of the parts of the card fit on here. Most of it's just going to be a pumpkin, but it will have a stem at the top, so you can always adjust and make sure you've got it where you want it before you make the cut. Here, if I did not have a magnetic mat that I was sticking this to, I'd definitely use a piece of tape to make sure I held this center and where I wanted the pumpkin to be on my card. And here's how this negative piece looks. So you've got all these pieces that you could use on another pumpkin if you want, but you also have this piece like this that just looks really amazing. So now what we need to do is build the shaker element, and this one is a pretty easy one to do. So I'm going to take you through those steps. So this is super hard to see, but this is a piece of acetate, which is plastic. You can buy pieces of acetate. You could use some packaging from your cards, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to cut this slightly smaller than the back of my card. This is going to be the window. So you want a clear window you can look through on your card. And so I'm going to cut this piece and then we are going to adhere it. And I've got some tips on that. I love making shaker cards. So I've got lots of tips and tricks on how to do this quickly and easily. Set aside that piece of acetate, and now I'm grabbing double-sided adhesive. You can use any size that you want, but a lot of times on shaker cards, you have a pretty skinny area that you're going to need to go through. So I picked my 1/4 of an inch so that hopefully it will fit along these sides. You do not want any of this adhesive peeking into the open space, and that's because you don't want to be able to see it through that window, but also we're just trying to make this look as seamless as possible. So I'm going to add all of the adhesive around here. Then we will take the backing off the adhesive and we'll put our piece of acetate on. So let me kind of skip ahead to that section. So I'm using a little pointed tool to remove the adhesive backing of all of these strips, and then I'm going to grab my piece of acetate. Now, one thing with acetate is it does get fingerprints and such on it, so don't just grab it right from the middle or you're going to have a little bit of a splotch. So I'm using the edges and I'm putting this piece of acetate on my card. Now you can see that there's a window and it is really exciting and it's stuck all the way around so little pieces don't escape. Now we got to build up the area so that we have enough dimension in our card to have the pieces shake. So what I'm using right now is foam tape. This is foam tape from scrapbook.com and it is 2 millimeters wide. Why that matters is you always want to double check your foam tape with the pieces that you're going to use to make sure that it's tall enough for those pieces to shake freely. If it's not, you can always add another layer. With the foam tape, you want to make sure you've got a completely enclosed window so that little pieces don't sneak out. So I'm using that 1/4 of an inch and I'm really tucking the edges in to make sure that I've got a nice window that little shaker pieces will not come out of it. If I'm missing a spot, I'll just add a little section there to cover that up. See how I've got that triangle right there on the edge? I'm just going to add a little piece in there just to make sure nothing tries to sneak out that little hole. Now we've got that ready. Next, it's time to decide what we're going to do as our background. So I took a Bristol Smooth piece of paper. I'm using Catherine Pooler ink in clay mask, and then I'm going to come in with some darker colors, and I'm just ink blending behind the window. But for this card, that pumpkin's pretty large, so it's going to be a pretty big section here, and I'm getting some color down, but we're going to create a cool spotlight effect because I think that makes the shaker part pop out even more. So I'm going to create some nice color with this clay mask, and then I'm going to come in with the darker color and we're going to add it around the edges to create that beautiful, beautiful spotlight effect. This color is called Polished, and it's a little bit darker than Clay Mask, and you'll see as I start to apply it that I'm going to come in around the outside edges. Now that I've kind of got the general shape of this pumpkin, I can come in and bring a little bit of that color, and you'll start to see that it really gives that spotlight effect to the middle of the pumpkin. You don't have to do all this. You could just get another piece of colored cardstock and put it behind your paper. I just think this is one of those ways that really makes your card kind of pop out to everybody, and they may not even realize that you ink blended a spotlight, but there's just something about it that just really looks beautiful. So I'm going to make sure that I've got good amount of color, everything's blended really well, and then we're going to put this card together. Okay, so I've already started the foam tape and I've made a little window, but I'm going to add just some extra pieces just to make sure this lays nice on my card backing. So I put a little bit on this edge as well. That doesn't help hold shaker pieces in. It just helps form the card a little bit better. If you ever have trouble with your card warping, it's nice to cover the back in foam tape just to make a nice stiff card front. So I've got all of these there. The next tip is you've got to use some anti-static powder, and I'm going to show you one of the best brushes for shaker windows that I have. Of course, I'll link it in the description as well. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you've hit the like and subscribe on this channel if you're liking my tutorials. And also, if you want to skip ahead in this video, we still have a whole nother card to do, and you can find those chapters and skip ahead really easily. This powder tool is called the EK Success powder tool, and I love it because it's got a small little brush on it that I can go along the edges of my window here. And the reason I do this is to take any adhesive that's kind of sticking through the window and cover it up with powder, and that is so that your pieces of your sticky parts don't grab the shaker pieces. You want the shaker pieces to move freely, you must do the powder step. Next, I'm grabbing my background piece and I'm going to start putting the shaker pieces on it. Now, this is from Cat Scrappiness. This is called Ghostly Ghouls, and it's just a fun shaker mix. I did look at the colors ahead of time to make sure that my card kind of matched the colors. And I'm just pouring a little amount, usually about a third of a package to a half a package. And I'm spreading it out so that it's all not stacked up. And we're just going to make sure that it fits well inside this window before we stop putting it in there, and also before we actually adhere everything to it. All right, so I removed the adhesive backing, and now before you press it down, you need to do this slowly to make sure that you have your little, everything's underneath the window, and you'll see I'll have to poke my head in every now and then to look, and just kind of scoot your everything around, make sure that you got it flat enough before you actually do that final press. So once I do the final press, let's look at how we finish out this card, and then we're gonna go to our next one, which is super easy and has so much texture and detail. I can't wait for you to see the next stitching card. But first, let's put a Happy Halloween in some black glitter cardstock. This Happy Halloween is also from the Papertrey Ink release. I'm going to glue this together and show you what it looks like. So very simple, but beautiful and just really fun for anybody to open. I mean, when you think of Halloween, you think of a little treat, and this is a treat. So I hope you enjoyed that card. Let's go right to our next card. This is our last card, and we're going to be doing some stitching. I'm using some of the cardstock from Papertrey Ink. They have this wonderful sample pack, and I found this orange and green that to me just looked amazing. And I wanted to add some purple in there as well. So I actually had an orange floss here, or stitching thread, that was similar in color, and I thought this would look really cool on my pieces. Started with this lilac piece of paper from Papertrey Ink, and I wanted to make it a little bit darker. So I brought in some Catherine Pooler ink, and I added around the edges in that kind of spotlight effect just to make the colors coordinate a little bit better with the orange and green that we had. I felt like it just needed a little more depth. Next, I'm going to use the cover plate Lush Foliage, and I'm going to cut out the green in this. Then you can see what that looks like over the purple. It looks gorgeous, and it's just a simple die cut. And we're gonna go ahead and die cut our pieces for our pumpkin as well. We're gonna use that kind of squattier pumpkin that we used in the first card. And this piece right here cuts out slices that you can stitch on very easily. So I'm gonna show you what I cut out. We'll do a quick little demo of the stitching, and then I'll show you how this card comes together, and we'll wrap up our video. Now here's how our cute little pumpkin looks. I want to show you a couple of tricks with the stitching that I feel like help, especially with these teeny tiny edge pieces here. It's always how do you adhere it? Now you can use glue or something, but I tend to use a piece of double-sided adhesive. And you see how I started my stitching in the middle to give myself a little bit more room? I'm going to use the double-sided adhesive here on this part. And then when I get to one end, I'm going to show you another way to adhere the stitching that has helped me. And I did simple stitching on this, just back and forth to create a nice little pattern here. Nothing super fancy about the stitching. I kept my thread at the regular, I didn't separate it, I just left it as 5 strands. And then I grabbed some of these glue dots, and this is how I'm going to adhere the bottom part. And they are very sticky, so you're going to need a little tool. I'm going to trim my floss over, and then I'm going to fold it back over that sticky stuff right there. And those glue dots are so teeny that they don't show behind this little sliver here, which is really nice. So great idea for using those. Here's the final stitched pumpkin. Let's put it all together. Now, when you're putting together stitched pieces, I highly recommend adding some double-sided adhesive foam to the back, because the stitching behind it makes the pieces stand up unevenly. So if you will put a little bit of foam behind each of the pieces, it doesn't have to be much. It can be a little tiny amount. It'll all lay nice and flat. With the cover plate, I did add a little bit of Catherine Pooler spruce to the edges, and I'm going to add some gold watercolor splatter, which makes the details look so beautiful. I use the gold in this metallic watercolor pan, and I just use very little water and get some of the gold on the pan, and then I just tap it all over the piece. Once the gold splatter dried, I went on and glued this piece and added it to our purple piece of paper that we added the ink blending to. So we've got like that spotlight effect on the purple. We've got our foliage, which has a little bit of ink blending around the edges to kind of make that spotlight effect, and also some gold metallic watercolor splatter. I know that's a little bit hard to see here, but I'll show you the card up close right at the end. My sentiment is from the release and it says Fall Harvest. And then I'm going to use this little sentiment strip that says wishing you a cornucopia of blessings, which I thought was really cute, especially if you send Thanksgiving cards or if you're just sending any card in the fall. It's a really nice little thing just to drop in and send somebody some happy mail. So here is that final card. It's a little hard to see the gold splatter, but in life it looks so beautiful. So Fall Harvest, this is our final card. Let me show you all three cards. I'll pop back in here and point you to a video that I think you will really love if you enjoyed this video. And I also want to hear which one is your favorite. Tell me which of the three cards was your favorite to make and what you're looking for in more videos. Are you looking for certain techniques? Is there anything that I could make a video on that you would just absolutely love? So this is the one where we added our foil accents and we did the foiling with no heat on those little leaves. It's a mint green background with the pink and gold beautiful pumpkin. And then of course a shaker. So cute. It turned out really adorable. And I think I know a lot of people who would love to find this in their mail. And then last, a great card for any friend that just needs a little fall boost. You know, our sun is going down, and some people just need that extra little bit of happy. Send them a cute little pumpkin card, and they will love it. Hey friends, which one of those cards was your favorite? Make sure you tell me below in the comments. I'd love to hear if you like the foiling, stitching, the shaker card. I'd love to just hear your ideas for new videos. So make sure you communicate with me down there. Before you go shopping, grab your exclusive coupon code from Papertrey Ink. That is good this weekend only, and it will be in the pinned comment and in the description. So grab that before you go shopping. Make sure you use my affiliate link. And if you are interested in hot foil plates but don't really want a hot foil, make sure you check out this video. It's 9 genius ways to use a hot foil plate without actually foiling, and it's so fun. So make sure you check out that video. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit subscribe on my channel. That helps you find me, and make sure that you don't miss any of my weekly tutorials or the fun live streams we've been doing. I hope to see you in all of those, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye!